just trying to sell her. Like animals on the machine.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool owl.
Yeah.
They don't need these?
Snow every snow owl.
I said you think we'll need these.
Yeah, we keep sending them like hey, we'll send you a bird feeder if you send us $50.
Our nation's, what is it?
This will save the world.
But that will.
Not chanting a holy name.
We're going to say what is it, the polar bears?
And the foxes.
This is an owl. This is probably. Did you send this to you?
Oh yeah, I got 2 more if you want another one.
I'm good, bro. I'm good. We gotta start having our own Krishna conscious bookmarks.
That's what I'm talking about.
Bro, that is Krishna conscious. There's only 8 million followers.
I don't have the vision, bro. That's a jiva right there, bro. Okay.
Can you turn the light off, bro?
It's hot in here, huh?
You have your hardcover? Open the windows.
Chakshurumitamena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaryam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Hello? Yeah. At 7:30? Yeah, I'm in the meeting. Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saranalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabhado Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishnu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalkatubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasavi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So,
Get all, is that where we get all your necessities from?
I think we finished the previous chapter. That was after the
Yeah, and then we read
homestead heritage thing.
a little bit from the Gomata book last week.
Oh yeah.
So
But that was just a chapter.
so
Chapter 4 is it?
That's what I think. I'm not sure. Also, I think for confirmation.
I wasn't here for the last class.
What?
I think you were.
We missed the last one.
Two classes.
No, I missed the last one.
I think you were here for the last one.
The one after the camp was cancelled.
Yeah. Because I remember you read from. Yeah, you read Gomata. Remember we talked.
We went to Homestead Heritage.
We had 2 classes after.
Was I there for the last one?
Yeah.
After Homestead Heritage? No, I remember that. That was the last one?
Yeah.
We didn't, you all didn't have one after that? Okay. Okay, then chapter 4 it is then. We can just start.
What's it called?
It's called
Volunteers?
Necessities from the Land.
Necessities, what page on the document?
30.
Page 49.
You were there.
PDF.
49 PDF.
Volunteers? To start reading, please?
All the necessities from the land. Keep this here or like hold it?
Hold it.
Okay. That's what's my hand.
It's available on the
Regulative principles to fulfill desires. It is the duty of human society to keep the cows happy. Cow killing, the most sinful activity. Krishna personally teaches how to protect cows. The land can supply all our necessities of life. Work according to your capacity. Pradumna leaves the chanting. Kaman vavarsha parjanayaha swarga kama dughag mahi shishutru sma vrajan gabha payasodha swastir mudha. Translation. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. Prabhupada. Kaman. Dharmartha kama moksha. In the human society, to make everything very regulated, the prescription is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma means to be situated in one's position. That is called dharma. Dharma is not a kind of faith. Faith is sometimes blind. That is not dharma. Just like we say Varnashrama dharma. Chatur vanyam maya shrishtam. Varna, Ramana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. This combination of 8 makes dharma, constitutional position. Everyone is animal. So if one is not trained up in these 8 principles of human society, so that is not dharma. It is sentiment. But that does not stand very long. It will vanquish. But if dharma is accepted on the principles of this Varnashram dharma, that is, for material purpose, that is not for spiritual purpose. Although there is hint of spiritual life, still they are prakrita. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma means to stay in one's constitutional position. That is dharma. Artha means keeping oneself in one's constitutional position to get livelihood. Artha. Without artha, livelihood, kama, the sense gratification, or fulfilling the needs of life. That is kama. Just like devotees, they have also got kama. But we are trying to become devotee. This is also one kind of kama, but this is spiritual kama. It is not material. Narottam Das Thakur has described kama Krishna karamarpane. Because there is kama, and when kama is not fulfilled, generally material kama means lust, desire. So if our kama, lust or desire, is not fulfilled, the next position is krodha. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, bhaya. These are different associates, one after the other. If your desire is not fulfilled, then you become angry. Then after becoming angry, you become very greedy. Then you become bewildered. Then become illusion. Then become fearful. Therefore, there must be some regulative principle to fulfill our desire. And how the regulative principles come to be fulfilled, here it is said, Kaman Vavarsha Prajanyaha. Vavarsha means showering, and Prajanyaha means rain. Prajanyaha, rain. So all our needs are showered from up. Therefore we pray, Eko yo bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. God, rain is not under your control. Rain, it comes from the sky, through the clouds. It is not under your control. When there is scarcity of rain, it is not your so-called science can produce rain. No, that is not possible. Drought. So many places, last 2-3 years, so common are necessities of life from a material point of view. It is fulfilled by rainfall from the sky. If there is no rainfall, you cannot produce anything. Kaman Vavarsha.
You ready?
Yeah.
This is the description during the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira was the king of this earth, and he was so pious that on account of his piety, Krishna supplied everything sumptuously. Now, have you ever experienced? Now, here it is stated, Sisichu sma vrajan gava. Now, we are hankering after milk, but in those days, during Maharaj Yudhisthira's time, milk was so sufficiently produced that before milking the cow, it supplied milk so sufficiently that grazing ground, pasturing ground, they became muddy. They become muddy with milk. Now, with the scarcity of grain, the earth also does not become muddy. It becomes dry earth. But in those days, with milk, it was muddy. Just imagine how much milk was and how it is possible. Sishuchu sma vrajangava payo sadhayar swatir muda. The milk bag was so fatty and full with milk. Why? Muda, they were so happy. They were so happy. So if you keep the cows happy, then cow will supply a large quantity of milk. If the cow knows that you're not going to kill it, if the cow knows that you are going to kill it, she is always afraid, always fearful. Oh, this man will kill. They can understand. I have seen in New Vrindavan one cow. She was crying because her calf was taken away. So she was feeling so sorry. Now in our New Vrindavan, we see how the cows are happy, how they are dealing. They are not afraid. This is our duty to keep the cows happy. Just like I want to see my wife and children happy, similarly, it is the duty of the human society to see the cows feeling very happy. This is human civilization. Otherwise, it is tiger civilization, meat eaters. Meat is not eaten by human being. It is eaten by the dogs, by the tigers, by the animals.
One thing that's quite surprising is that about 5,000, no, maybe not 5,000, about 3,000 years ago or so, or before that sometimes, before that, the Sahara Desert was actually quite lush and green. It was a very green place, had lots of water, especially 5,000 years ago. And humans were living there at that time. This is historical record. And anyways, they say that there was some change in the Earth's rotation that caused the monsoon cycles to change, and therefore, but the Sahara Desert was actually quite lush, and this is why you'll find descriptions in the Bible of Moses and all shepherding in what's currently Arabia. And Arabia, you can't shepherd anything, nothing is shepherded, everything die. So, but it was done back then because it was possible and there was actually water. And that's interesting because that's why there was so much competition for that land, and which is what the Bible's all based on. But later you can see it's completely turned into arid land. This what they call now the Holy Land. It's just like it's a really uninteresting, like unattractive, just desert right now. Whatever they have in Israel, Israel is doing a lot of things artificially, quite expert at this, and they've turned a lot of patches into green. But naturally, you cannot do that, and it also speaks of the religions themselves. Not much of a pious life, and everything turned pretty much arid in this holy land. Versus Srila Prabhupada saying that if one becomes Krishna conscious and or if the world becomes Krishna conscious specifically, then you will experience this. There's rain and the soil and the earth isn't dry and hard, it's one point that stuck out to me. Prabhupada says meat is not eaten by human being. So technically humans aren't meant to consume meat. But if you go to, especially now, oh my God, the more we go into this farming direction, the more we see what's out there. And these people are so stuck up in their meat-eating ways that they're so proud of it also. They're completely convinced this is the way life has to be led. So.
Chandan was showing a video once of how in Middle East now they can have rains, right?
Oh yeah.
What, the cloud seeding thing?
They
Cloud seeding, yeah, but then they did that. Most of the desert is getting flooded and destroyed because it's too much
So
rain.
they're creating rain, but they don't know how.
You can't control it. It rains too much, and then rains
It's
flooding everywhere, destroying their places, and their infrastructure isn't built to handle that level of rain.
It's worse than it.
Yeah.
So, we have created a society for killing cows and eating the meat and maintaining slaughterhouse in the name of religion. This is going on. So how can we be happy? There cannot be happiness. It is not a sentiment. Therefore, this is most sinful activity, meat eating, cow killing. Most sinful activity. And you have to suffer for that. Unfortunately, these rascals, they do not know that what is the result of this sinful activity. They think that the life will go on and there is no more life. After finishing of this body, everything will be finished. Atheistic theory. Bashmi Bhuta Shah Deyasha Kuta Punar Agamano Bhavet. Charvaka Muni, an atheistic philosopher. If you have no money, then beg, borrow, steal, but in some way secure ye enjoy life. Kutaha. Oh, who's coming? But that they do not know. Rascals. We get information from Krishna. Tata dehantara praptihi. Oh, you have to accept another body after finishing this body. But they are not responsible. They are so irresponsible. They do not care for the next life, the result of pious and civil activities. So it appears that how much strictly the cow protection was there, so much the Gavaha Payasho Dashvatir Mura. They were. You'll see Krishna. He is always with cows, and how the cows look very happy with Krishna. And Krishna is personally teaching how to protect cows. He became a cowherd boy. He was king's son, Maharaj Nanda. But his business was to take the cows and the calves daily to the pasturing ground. And it was very sportive engagement with the cowherd boys. The cows were grazing, and the boys, they took their meals in a pot tiffin carrier. Not tiffin carrier in those days, some way or other. And they used to eat them, distribute amongst the friends. Sometimes the tiffin carrier was stolen by one boy, and he was searching, and then it was. Just like the boys do. This was the children's life, to take protection, to give protection to the cows, to the calves. The small children up to 6 years, 7 years old, they have to take care of the calves. And the elderly men, they used to take care of the elderly boys, they used to take care of the grown-up cows. So the cows were fed very nicely. Rajan. Therefore, Vrindavan is called Rajabhumi, where there are many cows. It's called Gokula. Gokula. Go means cow, and Kula means group. Gokula. Govardhan Hill. Because the cows are grazing on that hill, and profuse grass is being grown, and they are enjoying. So there should be arrangement. Just like here we see, there's so many open fields and the cows are grazing. But they cannot be happy because they do not know that they are simply raised for being killed. They cannot be happy.
One thing is also to note that in Vedic culture, the cow herding is always done by humans, not dogs. You can't herd cows with dogs. They do that in the West, but it's offensive, huh? What do you mean?
Or the dog just barks at the cows or something?
He just like runs around.
Yeah. So it's offensive to do that because the cow is one's mother, and therefore one personally escorts one mother, not that one sends a dog to escort one's mother. So that's an important point to note that on our farm communities also, if we have to direct cows, it will have to be done by humans, not by animals.
What about like horses? Like they'll have like horses like till the land to the bulls. Is that also offensive?
Horses till the land instead of bulls.
Yeah, you'll see like.
I'm not sure if it's offensive, but then what do you do with the bull? What do you do with the cow? What do you do with the bull?
Prabhupada told Shuddha Jiva Prabhu personally. Shuddha Jiva Prabhu tells this pastime that you see that you're taking care of the cows, but you're having a tractor for tilling the land. That's offensive. You have to also show how ox
that's the point. You have to engage the ox.
How ox is not a burden, but ox is. You have to show people how ox is the father of society, and cow is mother of society.
The other thing was that I also mentioned this point about the Sahara Desert, is that right now it's inconceivable for us that the Sahara Desert was a lush green forest full of water and lakes and all kinds of animals that were roaming around, and they said elephants used to live there and things like that. So just like that, what might seem impossible in terms of climatic changes right now, which would become more favorable for growing food or having a vegetarian diet, etc., all this can become possible by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Scientists themselves don't understand many of these things. It is a fact that the Earth has existed caps in both the polar regions. So practically the whole earth was more or less tropical. Not completely, but more or less tropical. And there was no ice, like permanent ice cover, at periods in the history of the earth. So, what does that mean? That would mean that you wouldn't have severe cold spells, which would mean that you can grow more fruits. You need fruits primarily thrive in tropical environments. You have the most variety of fruits in tropical environments, and fruits add a whole dimension to vegetarian diet, a very important one actually. The world becomes more sinful, and the earth kind of stops producing. And also, Prabhupada would criticize, he said the snow, it looks beautiful, but it basically just kills everything. It just kills everything. Nothing much can really grow. And what does it mean? Primarily, you will see that humans who lived in regions with snow are meat eaters. Because you have to. Because you have to eat meat, fish, and then other kinds of animals also they kill.
Whales
And
blubber.
huh?
You just live off of like the fat of like big animals.
Yeah. So the walrus and this and that. So it's like, so you have these. So it encourages a meat-eating diet. And so in one sense, as much as we may not be used to a hotter weather, including myself, it's difficult to understand. But a hotter weather, you will see overall, nature thrives more in hot and humid conditions. And so such hot and humid conditions, there are ways in which humans are also meant to thrive in such an atmosphere. And Gokul Chandra Prabhu said this in a Bhakta program class along with Divya Prabandha Prabhu to me, that pious people live where palm trees grow.
He said Prabhupada said that.
There's a few kind of, like, there's palm trees that we see in Los Angeles, but there's also like the palm fruit. Is it different? Is it different?
I'm not sure.
Because
I'm not sure because I was living in India back then.
Where coconut-
I was living in India back then, and my conception of palm was pretty much coconut and some other types of palm trees which all produce fruits.
Date palms.
Date?
You have date palm. You have this
tall tree.
tal
Oh yeah.
tal tree is
Called
palm.
tree.
Taliban.
So that's a type of palm.
Palm sugar is also some.
That comes from the tall.
I think that comes from the tal tree. It's a very sweet fruit and very, very, very nectarian.
So coconut trees are also.
Coconut is palm.
Trees? Oh, okay. Never mind.
Coconut's palm.
Okay. The palm trees.
So anyways, overall, it says somewhere like that, apparently.
So this weather you're talking about, Hawaii is like that,
Sure.
tropical weather.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
There's many places in the world that are tropical.
No, so I'm just saying, it's nice and so it's not that it has to be excessive. It's not too hot either, right?
Not excessive. No, it's not excessive. But what we think is excessive. I'm just making the point that here we're used to anything over 80, 85 is like it's too hot, which is not actually 80. It's not that hot.
But Hawaii is what 72, 75.
It's okay, but the
Yeah,
point,
but
but
it's
overall,
tropical.
I'm just trying to make the point. I'm not talking 120 degrees, but I'm talking like 85, 90, which is, it's summer heat. It's kind of, but it's not like, there's some discomfort there, but it's not bad for one's health or anything like that. So.
I have a question just about, you're talking about ice caps. I've been trying to understand this. So do we understand, so do we understand like the way that the earth is structured now is how it's always been, or was it something like Pangea? Like, because I read something that was saying.
That one is, I don't know about that.
Okay. I read something recently that was
where
saying
the continents
Pangea.
and everything, the way it's
Yeah.
organized, yeah.
But I read somewhere recently that Prabhupada was kind of like saying that. It was just one devotee wrote an article and that was like in there. And I was like, anyways. But there are like other statements like saying like 7 islands. But then it's like, is that like talking just about like
It could be, it could be talking about
pretty
the entire
confusing.
Bhumandala.
Yeah.
You have 7 concentric circles, and then you also have, that's, or you have 7 varshas
Yeah.
that are in Jambu Dweep.
Yeah.
But then you also have 7 concentric. There's a lot of 7s there.
Yeah,
Which one
it's-
it refers to is like,
Yeah.
generally from Shastra we understand, at least from Bhagavatam, it seems to be Jambu Dweepa,
Yeah.
not Australia,
Yeah.
South America, North America,
Yeah.
like that.
I think in the
Yeah.
purport though it says that, right? In the purport to that verse in the Bhagavatam, it talks about the 7 continents.
Is it? I don't know. I don't
It's
remember.
It's confusing. It's like I've seen like.
And also, you say 7 continents, you say 7 islands. Technically,
Continents are-
North America and South America are one island.
Yeah.
They are completely connected. They are not 2 separate. They are not dweepas. Huh?
Panama
The canal
Canal.
is just a canal. Or the river also, you'll consider the land is divided.
Yeah.
It's just a canal.
Mirror.
The ocean is different.
I mean, we see in Ramayana when Rama has Sugriva. Okay, that's
They went to the edge of the world.
That's the other thing. What's Europe and Asia?
Never mind.
That's just that's another one of their their thing that Europe has to be separated from Asia because Asia is like low class or whatever. But the thing is that it's literally one thing. So is everything all the way out and Africa is also connected.
to what? To Europe. But we can see even in the Ramayana when
And Japan's part of Asia.
You think Japan is like an island or really?
It's an island.
Yeah.
Australasia. What about Australasia?
New Zealand is the other.
No,
This is own
New Zealand's part of
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah, I think it's the only that shit by
Australia,
itself.
Anyways,
Yeah.
this one I don't know. Someone told me back then that with every yuga, or not with every yuga, with every Chatu yuga or something like this, that the oceans turn into land, land turns into ocean, all kinds of things.
Wow.
And I don't know where I heard that one, but that was another wonderful thing I heard back somewhere. And I was like, I'm not getting into this because there's no point.
Well, that's what they say that causes earthquakes actually,
That's true.
which
Probably.
scientists say the tectonic plates. What were you saying? You were saying something. Never mind.
can I say it now? Okay.
Remind
So, so in the Ramayana, we see that when Rama is asked Sugriva's help to go find Sita, that time Sugriva gives a full description of the geography of the earth, and it does seem like there's different islands that he goes to.
Oh, okay.
Right, this description, so because he tells, okay, this army led by this person, you go north. And when you go north, you're going to find all this, and there's divisions
Yeah.
given there. When you go east, you're going to find this, you go south, and you're going to find, and he'll tell where exactly he'll end also. But it seems like what he's speaking about is Jambu Dweep, and it's like the different islands, literally.
Okay. Yeah.
Apart from Jambu, because he says, if you reach the end of this, you'll find that there's a mountain cave and Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva reside over there. You can't go past that point. So we don't have access to that. Per se, like I guess using our airplane.
Which islands are you talking about? The ones on this? What we know?
No. The 7. Not.
You're
these,
talking about the 7 dweepas on Bhumandala.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
Right. So that's what's described in Ramayana also.
Okay. I see.
The whole that's what considered.
Yeah.
This whole thing, but it like we can see that it's technically speaking, it is one island. North America, South America,
Oh, okay.
Europe, they're all connected.
Yeah.
So what we're considering, what we consider as separate continents, is not really 7 continents.
Okay. Okay.
And even in Guru Maharaj's recent video that he put up, I'm forgetting the silencing
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
forcing an atheistic view of science.
Yeah.
That video, in that Guru Maharaj recommends watching this documentary called Mysterious Origins of Science.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I was talking to Guru Maharaj about it. Yes, Sadapura
Yeah,
Prabhu and
Drutta Karma
Drutta Karma Prabhu. And it's actually some karmi who
Yeah.
does this.
That Mataji?
Yeah.
No. That
Yeah,
Mataji who
Mataji.
lost her job.
Oh yeah.
All this is and that
Yeah.
there is a specific mention that Antarctica was actually a very thriving, extremely thriving place. But then something happened, and then all of a sudden, almost overnight, this the entire continent was covered by ice.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Almost that's what the documentary says that Guru Maharaj recommends.
Yeah.
And one of the things they're saying is that they dug up and they found like a huge elephant not to be found at this time.
Yeah.
And they still found the food that was in the elephant's stomach, and it was fresh fruits.
Oh, okay.
Where are you going to find fresh fruits in
Yeah.
Antarctica?
Okay, that's interesting.
Where are you going to find fresh fruits in all
Yeah.
these Siberia and all these places which are completely
The
frozen?
elephant
I think that one was in Siberia.
You said the elephant was frozen.
Yeah, the elephant was frozen, but the food.
I'm not sure if that elephant was in Antarctica, though. I've heard of this case.
Antarctica or
But yeah.
same place, same case and point. The food that it ate, it didn't even digest it. So in the food that they found was fruits. How do you find frozen? How do you find fruits in a frozen land? So they were making this point that something happened all of a sudden.
Frozen fruits.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll look into that.
That's in the video.
Huh?
That's in that video.
It's in the video mysterious origins of man.
Vrindavan today, it's dusty and drier.
Yeah.
I was wondering, when Krishna was on the planet, it was more lush.
More lush.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's two reasons for this. One is that the Saraswati River was flowing.
It's no longer flowing.
Really?
Underground.
It's underground, it's
How
cursed.
how did that? What's the past time behind that?
Well, there's a curse that happens, and she flows underground. She gets cursed. So the Saraswati River used to flow through Rajasthan, and that entire place was pretty lush also, and green. Scientists also have found plenty of evidence that the river was flowing through Rajasthan, which was the Saraswati River. Many archaeologists attribute the downfall of the Indus civilization to the changing of the course of the Saraswati River. The Saraswati River basically dried out. But so one of the reasons why Vrindavan is so dry today is because of the Rajasthan desert, which is constantly expanding. As India becomes more and more urbanized and more environmental damage is being done, the more arid everything is becoming. And so it wasn't like this. It wasn't this arid at all. But now it's very arid. So desertification, which is a common thing that's happening in many parts of the world.
Yeah.
Is Greenland is being turned into a desert. It's happening in Texas.
Whoa.
Yeah, a lot of Texas is getting turned into a desert. The desert's growing, expanding, getting closer and closer to Dallas.
Does it have anything to do? I mean, now like there's certain like in Vrindavan, there's a lot of I guess sinful activity, right?
Yeah, it's all there. It all has its influence for sure. The increase in sinful activities, materialism, things like that, all has a role to play for sure.
Saraswati being cursed itself is the cause of this in India?
What India?
You're saying...
Saraswati River being cursed is the cause of Rajasthan turning into a desert.
Which is the cause of a lot of India's downfall.
Well, I mean, not everything.
Yeah, I mean urbanization.
Overall, India, when you read descriptions or earlier things of what many acharyas describe, you don't see that these days. India doesn't look that beautiful.
So negative.
Most places, not that beautiful. But the descriptions are so beautiful. Some places are still like that, but most places are not like that. It's not that. I personally feel that it has both. There's the sinful activities that have increased, but it's also just the Indians like complete neglect of taking care of nature and just trashing everything. It's a very common thing. Everything is so polluted.
These devotees in Vrindavan were saying this, that before, whatever the Rajavasis would eat, it would all be in clay pots or banana plates or something like that. They would eat it, they would throw it away.
But that's everywhere, Prabhu.
But then plastic, they just,
That's everywhere.
yeah, that's the thing, introducing things like this, plastic and all that.
That's everywhere.
They had that here too, in like the West, but somehow they were able to enforce like the citizens to abide by certain rules and regulations. So whereas India, it seems that didn't happen. So it's like, you know, that culture was there.
It's only in India though.
Yeah.
You go to Sri Lanka, it's not like this.
Yeah, it's
I've been to other places. You go to other heavily populated countries like Malaysia.
Yeah, Malaysia's quite
It's clean.
Yeah. Singapore,
Singapore is only a city state. It's easy for them to enforce things,
super clean.
but you know, I've been to Malaysia. Sri Lanka is not a very wealthy country. China
I think
China is cleaner.
Beijing is quite clean.
cleaner. There's a lot of industrial pollution in China that's nuts, but yeah, from this kind of thing perspective, it's definitely cleaner. So that, yeah, I mean, there's which is why actually Guru Maharaj is making the point that when with one devotee was trying to say that, you know, we should preach using a concept of Vedic environmentalism, so that through environmental preaching, by showing that Vedic life, Vedic culture, Vedic lifestyle is the best lifestyle. But Guru Maharaj was making the book, and he was trying to refer to India's more ancient past. But Guru Maharaj is making the point that that's not enough, because anybody can go to India right now and say, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, this is so horrible. Like,
Thousands of years ago, and they're living clean, ecological.
not really. Europe was a big, dirty, horrible place.
Yeah, they would be more
Um,
bad.
Well,
you
Native
know,
American.
not taking bath. It was just unclean, really dirty.
Like Native
um,
Americans.
Yeah, I saw the Black Plague spread actually in Europe. Because
Very
it
unhygienic
was so dirty,
conditions.
so dirty, I saw the Black Plague
Highly
spread.
unhygienic conditions.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right now, if you know, you can't convince people on that. So Guru Maharaj said we have to show that this is a lost culture. We have to show. Then you can preach using that environmentalism. You can say this is what it actually is. Why are you talking about what's there in India right now? Look at this. This is the ancient culture, and this is what you should. So Guru Maharaj is kind of making that point that we should show.
Yeah,
And then that's powerful preaching.
not just talk about it.
Yeah, because otherwise, okay, there's some questions that was raised from Mataji's. You mentioned how you wanted, I believe, 4 or 5 already built homes, one for brahmacharinis, grihasthas, brahmacharis, guests, woofers. At some point, would grihasthas build their own homes, or would they all live in the same building? Own homes for grihasthas is the goal. How exactly they would get built, etc., these are details that still needs to get figured out. But no, grihasthas would not all live in the same building on the farm. In Hungary, question number 2, in Hungary and other devotee farm communities that y'all visited, was every household mother, father, child. I assume that since we're trying to show an ideal way of living, broken families would not be allowed. At Navagokula, every household was mother, father, and if they had children, then children. Same in Nandagram. I mean, a husband and wife is not a broken household, whether they have children or not. But definitely divorces would not be allowed and would be a huge issue. I think that's very easily understandable. If the question is, are there any other types of people allowed? I'm not sure. What's other types?
Like, for example,
Just a mother with a child, single woman with a child. Single woman with a child is a case that I
Well, Prabhupada said don't.
It's dangerous.
is like
Prabhupada didn't allow it, right? In his temple.
Prabhupada did not allow it
It's
No, no,
mainly
it's-
Vrindavan. It's mainly Vrindavan.
in the guest house.
in the guest
So
house.
Yeah,
it's
so he said
examples where he's
There
having
was-
it.
well, what happened was like, anyways, there was like a history with that, but it was mainly in Vrindavan that Prabhupada didn't want like
See,
single
because
women.
they didn't want them occupying the guest house.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It was like he didn't want them that occupying the guest house, but like a single woman just hanging out.
Ah,
And then there's
okay.
like sannyasis and brahmacharis, and he was just like, that's like a recipe for like disaster. And so he didn't want that. And then that was like enforced later by like some of like different Prabhupads,
Yeah.
like temple presidents,
Wasn't he saying like?
as like time went on.
Remember he said like Vrindavan is for like brahmacharis and sannyasis or something like that.
Well, it's a place of renunciation.
Yeah,
That's
he was
like the
saying,
main
single
thing.
women shouldn't be just living in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
What would be the standard for farms? This is a question directly for Guru Maharaj actually.
Yeah.
This is such a specific thing, and there's also a principle behind it because, it can be a problem because they're single women and they have children, and at least one case at our temple didn't turn out to be very well.
What about the like the question that Mother Kamalanini posed about like elders being taken care of
Oh, he has a big
on
issue.
the land and the community?
Elders is different.
Well, are you saying like other people? Who would other people?
Oh,
be?
he's
Oh,
saying
yeah.
a different category.
Yeah, so you're saying that that's one category that would be allowed
Perhaps.
potentially. That makes sense. Elderly women, elderly devotee women, elderly devotee men.
Sannyasis.
It's older devotees of all kinds. So
How you determine that becomes a little. Anyways, like you're
Yeah.
saying, it becomes sometimes unpopular opinion because
Mike?
somebody's gonna decide who do you let in. Okay, somebody's elderly, but they're like basically becoming handicapped, and then it becomes like, how do you determine?
the thing is, here's the thing. All these kinds of people are supposed to be taken care by.
their children.
No, that's okay. But
That is
who? No. Which ashram?
Understand?
Grihasthas. So the Grihasthas can privately serve some people as a service. It's not meant to be the duty of the renunciants. It's not, as much as nowadays, the thing is that, you have a brahmachari care. Well, that's not what brahmacharis are meant for. Brahmacharis are meant for pushing the Guru's mission forward. Other kinds of people should take care of grihastha, of older people. It's supposed to be the grihastha's domain and duty. And is it done? Yeah, it's done. It is a thing that's done. Although, what we would like to do, what are you going to do for all these Prabhupada disciples? That's a big question. This is a big mess. And it feels very bad, right? It's like, what is his name? One Prabhupada disciple wanted to come. He seems interested. He's a brahmachari his whole life, wants to come and live in a brahmachari ashram. And I think that is where brahmacharis can care, is if there's an older renunciant, then younger renunciants care for the older renunciant. That is completely accepted and bona fide. But still, it's difficult to think because they can become bedridden at any time. And considering the manpower and what we have to do and what we have, we also have our limitations in what we're able to do. But ideally, Krishna willing, we should be setting up an environment where there are a lot of devotees and families with abilities where the children care for the elders and things like this. And I've seen it myself that if a family is together, especially there are more members in the family, it's not that they only have time for caring for their elders. They can care for other people too, especially the younger children. They're trained in doing these kind of things, and it's engagement for them. It's very nice engagement because it teaches them to be respectful of the elders and things like that. But yeah, it's a mess. It's difficult to answer.
It's on the earphones. No plastic.
I heard something about like even in Mayapur, they still don't really have this kind of thing like care for older devotees.
It's expensive.
Yeah, like they
I
charge.
mean, the thing
like,
is, how can you expect the institution to care for this? It's not right. The institution is just completely burdened. It's very difficult. What is it? Oh, he gave so many years to the mission. Why run the mission? Sure, if he's been a lifelong renunciant, then those kind of people should be cared for. But most aren't lifelong renunciants, and they did give their younger years to the movement, but then after that they didn't. They were on their own. But it's not like they served so many years the movement, we should take care. Yes, we should take care, but not as an institution. It has to be, it's not sustainable as an institution. You take the number of devotees we have in our movement, and you take the number of people who need care. It's a small fraction. The number of devotees that actually need care. Now, of course, it's not so easy to just take one and match it. But I'm just making the point that the grahasthas, they're larger in number, and they have more capability. As the institution can't be expected to do this. It just won't work. It's very, very, very difficult. It's a big issue, and it's another. All that will be solved only if we establish Varnashrama Dharma the proper way. That's the solution for cow protection, Brahmana protection, elderly, women, children. All these people you can only protect them all properly. We can have laws after laws, and we can do seminars after seminars about child abuse, and it won't stop. Same thing with women thing, and then what you do is, in the name of protecting children from child abuse, we propose in our institution officially to not have gurukuls. So that's what leads. That's what happens. So an institution can't be responsible for these things. It's the family unit and the community that needs to take charge of all of this.
So then, okay. So how does that work? I mean, I guess something to ask Guru Maharaj. But like if someone comes and they need, then you say, oh well, we don't deal with this as an institution.
The thing is, when someone comes, like I said, there is the long-term goal of how to fix this, which is the actual only solution, real fix. And stopgap measures, there can be different measures, okay? And that's going to depend on the particular institution's ability. They may take a few older people and care for them, but not everybody who comes. And it is a case by case, and then, Chandan raised the point, how do you know who is accepted, who's not? Well, that's the problem, because it's all stopgap measures, it's some Band-Aid. And so I've got 5 Band-Aids and there are 10 bruises. I'm going to pick and choose which one to put a Band-Aid on. I'm going to leave some exposed, which I think is fine. Or not fine, but...
But in general, like they were saying, this should be the children, like, of the elderly person, right? Because then there's like... That's how
but if the
works.
elderly person's children aren't interested, and which is what is the most of the case. I mean, there was a Prabhupada disciple who got admitted to the hospital, and the daughter who works in the same hospital left the hospital before the father came because her shift ended.
Does anybody know of a case where any of the Prabhupada disciples' children are actually looking after them?
No.
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't think it's that bad.
Can you think of one?
Think of any.
Even one?
Huh?
What? No.
Who?
I don't know the situation.
It's the other way around.
Yeah. Most places is the other way around.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
That the children are mooching off the parents.
I mean, I we may not know, but I would say it's 100%.
Does anyone know? No, we don't.
I don't think it's 100%.
I was just thinking, because we know a few, and out of those few that we do know, it seems like pretty much all of them are not. Which is, I mean, the next generation is pretty much like whatever is going on there is a big symptom, like big it shows like where our society is at, and especially if the elderly are not cared for in the society, specifically.
See, there's another side to this problem also, is that the elderly also don't quite fully accept that either. They also try to live independently as far as possible, and they also don't want to just accept living under the care, which would mean giving up a lot of their own personal preferences, which is also a thing I've noticed.
So months you said that.
Huh?
You can't. How many months you said that? She's like, I don't want to go live with my son.
He was trying,
I mean, yeah.
I think he was trying to keep that.
She said that.
I think he-
She said that because her son lives a complete cancer.
Yeah.
So should she give up Krishna consciousness to be supported by her son? And
That's there, but I mean,
that's the point.
I'm just making the point that it's complicated, because I see this in Indian families also these days. Is, you know, the children want to live abroad, the parents don't want to live abroad, they want to live in India. And then the same situation. The parents don't, they want to live in a particular place and they don't want their children, they don't want to move where the children are. And this is also a problem. And this is, again, how is this all solved? This is all solved again through Varnashrama, because hopefully nobody moves anywhere. That's challenging. But
that kind of brings in cases like in which the children may move away, and then you've got, let's say, even if the husband and the wife are there, and then, you know,
it's an issue.
yeah, then there's nobody to take care for them, or even if the husband leaves, or the wife is alone, or the wife leaves and the
Yes,
husband
but
is
in a
alone.
village, if this happens, is it the village government's duty to care for them?
I don't.
But then,
They could do it out of compassion, but it's not an obligation.
Why not? Because
not.
Prabhupada said that Varnashrama, they should go to the four, in one four, I think in the ninth canto.
No,
Prabhupada
so
says,
there,
like they should take
there are, okay,
Varnashrama
so in
in
holy
Maya.
places, rich men establish dharmashalas, and these dharmashalas are staffed, and they have places where people can live, and there's vruddashrams and all this in older places, or like basically where holy places where old people come to die. And rich men, realizing that this is a great service, establish these kind of facilities in places like Kashi, Mathura, and many holy places, where these people come, and then there's some facility provided. But you have to understand that this facility is not like, it's there, but it's not luxurious by any means.
Yeah, but Prabhupada specifically says, like, when it says go to the forest, he specifically says that means Vrindavan or Mayapur. I
So
remember
he
reading
wanted
that.
this in Vrindavan and Mayapur to facilitate devotees who are willing to retire.
Right, so that's like that seems
But that's
like an
again-
institutional goal, because he's saying, because Prabhupada established Mayapur
So-
for devotees. So you said that, like, it's not an institutional problem, but Prabhupada established Mayapur, and he
No.
gave
Now,
an
holy
instruction
places,
for devotees to
okay,
go there.
holy places are an exception.
Oh,
We're not talking about holy places.
okay.
But, you know, the other places, devotees can serve. Prabhupada did encourage Vanaprasthas to also join the temples, okay, and serve. But what do you do when they become more or less bedridden? Whose responsibility does it become? And technically, my understanding is that it is the responsibility of the children. If anybody has any other opinions on that, they can say, yeah.
I think there's two things. You made that point just to highlight it, but there's like a big difference between someone like retiring and like engaging themselves fully in Krishna consciousness, and then someone like having like a life-threatening disease and like needing like help and care. There's like a big difference between those two. And so generally my understanding is like when Prabhupada's like talking about like making facility for like people in like Mayapur and Vrindavan, that's what he's talking about. It's like, okay, like you do your thing like over and wherever, like now come here and like engage fully in Krishna consciousness, like, you know, with your wife or something. As far as like what I've heard, like in Mayapur, like devotees generally, and Vrindavan, devotees generally like come there and like leave their bodies and stuff. It seems like it's not like I mean, somewhat there's like somewhat of like an institutional like hand in there, but it seems like mostly it's just like community of devotees.
Yeah.
Like someone comes and then like, okay, like whatever, this householder, there's like a group, maybe like 5 grihastas, and like if it's like a Mataji, like the different like Matajis will go and like read with her or associate with her or whatever, kind of like that. Or maybe someone will like step in and kind of like help. But it's not like there's like a board of like, okay, like your service is like that or whatever, from what I've understood and seen.
Now, if someone, and the other thing is, generally this retirement is supposed to be done when the older person still has some little energy left in them. Not that they're broken at the age of 75 and then they decide to live at the temple because, life has become too hard to live outside. That's not how you view it. The Vanaprastha stage is actually also meant for service. They should be willing and eager to come and do some service. And if they do that, by living Vanaprastha lives and doing that, then after some years of service, yes, then the community and the, it's the community, right? We're talking about Varnashram, so it's not an institution, it's a community. The community becomes responsible to care for them.
So then,
Because they contributed to the community.
why is
But-
there a difference between Varnashram and the? I guess there's a distinction. You're saying the Varnashram Dharma, then you say the institution. I guess I see it as the same. Why is it that this is the institution and this is Varnashram Dharma? I don't understand.
Well, how the community cares for is a detail. And generally the assumption is that, full-time devotees, brahmacharis should do it. But it's not necessarily the duty of a brahmachari to do that. That's the point I'm trying to make. Now, the other point I'm trying to make is that right now we're in a situation where we have so many of these elderly Prabhupada disciples who are all very much at their fag end of their life, and we are very, very grateful for the service that they've done. But we're put in this very awkward situation where you can't really expect them to do much because they're at the fag end of their lives and it's not fair. But to care for them will take a lot of time and attention away. And you're caught in this very, very, very awkward situation that makes almost one feel guilty of feeling like you're just neglecting. But it's a difficult situation. Now, as far as Vanaprastha goes, that was supposed to be done at the age of 50. You want to do it at least up to the age of 60. Still one vigor is there. But, they come, they exhibit a visible level of renunciation and they contribute in some significant way, which is significant in their spiritual elevation, not so much the physical service. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for instance, would have like the Babaji, they would just chant so many rounds a day and visibly display a very simple life. They would display taste for the holy name, which is a very significant thing. Or give classes, counsel younger devotees, and things like that.
So I think like main thing is like that there's a separation that's there between those, even if like for example, because we're talking about Varnashram and we're talking about even grihastas within that Varnashram. So that's considered like full time because they're serving at that in that particular place. Is that right? Like if they've served throughout their whole life. And so how does that particularly like function in terms
Well,
of...
I'm not understanding your question.
So they've served in that, let's say we're having a farm community, and they've served in that farm community their whole life.
As a renunciate?
Not a renunciate, as a grihasta. As a grihasta. So how does that kind of
Well,
work?
then
Is
their
this-
children are there, you care
the
for
children,
them.
yeah.
But I'm talking about those who may join as Vanaprasthas in the farm.
Mhm.
Okay? That's okay. And, they also need to be cared for, but they come for service. The awkward situation you have right now is that very, very few people actually will be able to do things like that. It requires a level of spiritual elevation to come and join like that. Now what you have is devotees who wouldn't have done that if they were able to be cared by their children. They would just live in their house and do whatever spiritual practice they can in that level of comfort, and they would continue. But they're forced to do this because there's nobody to care for them and their body is falling apart. And so this is the awkward situation where you have more number of people coming for this than naturally would actually, because naturally only very elevated people will do this. That they have They could be cared by their children, but they're instead coming to the holy place. Or they're coming to a temple, they're coming to a project, and they're coming to serve. That's not an easy thing. You leave the comfort of your house where you could practice Krishna consciousness, and instead you come to the farm. But now what you have is that you have people that no other choice, they come. Or, it's like a pastime. Huh?
Do you tell them no, you can't say it?
As I said,
Is it
then
usually
it becomes a case by case, depending on the ability for us to do something, manpower. It becomes a very, it's a very awkward situation.
Yeah.
That's all.
Also, if they fit into the community.
It's so many factors.
Yeah.
So many factors are there.
So much disturbance can come about.
There's so many
Yeah.
factors. There's so many
Like, we've had
factors.
that experience that some people may come in and it's like, well, their whole conception of Krishna consciousness is so different that everything that we're saying is pretty much being like they don't like it, and then it causes so much because they're older.
And then they poison the younger.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah,
makes-
lot
it's
of
a lot of
factors.
factors.
and
Lot of factors.
Like Guru Maharaj said in the Q&A session where Mataji said what she said, he said that now see, this is a repercussion of us not following the instruction of Prabhupada to establish Jai Varnashrama Dharma.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
this is a repercussion.
So, it's 11:33.
What?
Small.
Okay. I was gonna end it, but yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say we're used to, as living in this society, we're used to being taken care of by the institution when we reach old age. That's how the government works, Social Security, all these things, and that facilitates. Anyways, it's
Supposed to. Yeah.
But that's like also a facility of destroying the family unit.
It's bad.
The point is that this is not the way it's supposed to be. That the institution takes care of the elderly people, the families. I mean, before people lived in homesteads, there wasn't no.
And here's the other
institution.
thing, right?
Yeah.
In Homestead Heritage, both of us met one elderly Mataji who didn't have children,
They take care of
and she was a wife of one of the pastors, ministers, whatever. Husband passed away. She's Fijian. She came to the U.S. Filipino, and now they don't have brahmacharis. They got the concept also doesn't exist. The institution doesn't really have anybody who's like assigned full time. But because everybody has that culture of caring for their own parents, somehow she's cared for. And of course, maybe the institution is giving some level of monetary support.
anyone that comes into that community, they take. I don't know how they do it. Like,
But she specifically said that the community is caring for her. And she has no worries, she has no problem. And she's happy, she's walking around and she seems pretty blissful, And so what I'm just trying to say is if a culture of that is established, then somehow these other exceptions do get cared. And that's proof. Because I just saw it in Waco, yeah.
Yeah, it's just how things go.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Huh?
There's a big question, but that might be a little extra.
Could save it for next time.
You ready?
Can we note it down? Is there a way to copy that?
Take a picture.
If you can
Copy.
copy the
Why
question.
did you just send it into the chat? Whatever
Huh?
chat there is, you can ask Mataji to send it.
Okay, please send whatever question that was posted on the live chat on the WhatsApp group so that this can be addressed along with one more question that wasn't addressed this week. Question number 3. We will address it in the next session. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha. Vasindubhyacha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha.
You're your own buddy.
Oh yeah, that was all question number 2.
That was all question number 2, bro.
The whole session.
Wow.